to Spotlight ETSU. I'm your host, Carrie Oliveira. Today we'll be speaking with Karlota Contreras-Koterbay, the director of the Slocumb Galleries. Karlota is an award-winning sculptor and has been invited to exhibit and lecture around the world, including in the Philippines, Singapore, Japan, and Brazil. Thank you for joining us, Karlota.
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited for you to be here. I was looking at the newspaper this morning, and there's an article about the exhibit that's currently going on in the Slocumb Galleries, which we'll get to talking about, but it made me really excited to talk to you today. So tell us about how it is that you came to ETSU.
Well, we have to thank one of your faculty, and Dr. Bach.
And Dr. Bach.
I was actually born and educated in the Philippines, and in 2001, I met my future husband, Scott, who's now Scott Contreras-Koterbay, in Tokyo. It's the International Aesthetic Conference, and we decided we wanted to be together, so I'm here in ETSU in Johnson City.
How long have you been here?
2004 in September.
Okay, so I don't know what year it is.
More than 8 years.
More than 8 years.
8 years and
like
3
going on
months.
your 9th year, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So that's so cool. And so since you've been here, you have been associated with the Slocumb Gallery. That's been your job since you've been here?
No, actually, when I first came here, you know, I was newly married. I needed some paperwork. And so I just stayed in our apartment, and thankfully, the university had Mel Chin. He's an international artist who was Basler Chair in 2004. And he was making the WMD project with the art department. And I said, can I volunteer, please?
I need something to do.
Yes, I needed something to do. And it basically gave me the chance to work in the line of arts. I've been doing art management for several years before coming here, and staying in the apartment was just too boring.
It was too boring.
And so he accepted me as part of the team, and in May 2005, I was part of the WMD crew who went to Houston, Texas, and it was awarded in the car art parade. And
Car art.
Yeah, and
That's
it was
cool.
really exciting. You know, when I came here in 2004, the position that I am in was not even available.
Right. It didn't exist.
No. In 2006, when they hired me, I was the first full-time director for Slocumb Galleries.
Ever.
Ever. And if I'm not mistaken, the gallery has been established in the 1950s.
And only what year did you say we had? What hired you?
2006. You know, the former chair, Professor M. Wayne Dyer, he was one of the gallery director. In the past, they would ask a faculty and give them a course release, or you know, give a graduate student a GA position to manage the gallery. And so they have a part-time person doing it, but gallery work is a full-time job.
I was going to say, I mean, you and I were talking before the interview started about what curatorial work is, and it's, you know, the combination you told me of doing the creative work, right?
The
conceptualization,
and the administrative,
as well as the administrative. And I can't imagine that the idea that one person could successfully accomplish all of that is astounding enough to me, but when that person is doing other things and that the management of the gallery is not their priority, I can't imagine that it gets done well necessarily.
Well, you know, they did a fabulous job for what their limited time and resources were. They had some good group exhibitions that are media-based. They had the Positive Negative, which is on its 28th year now. It's an annual event, a national juried show.
Right.
And when I came in, I basically just continued that tradition.
Right.
But I did kind of, you know, had to develop a new mailing list, research all the faculty who are in the art department all over the country. I have a database of all artists in the country who are based in the universities and some university and museum and galleries. So we have to kind of build from scratch because you have this scattered information.
Because we didn't have the one person who was being able to compile it and maintain it over the course of the life of the gallery and all that. So
and having somebody like a point person really doing this as a full-time job. We're now a 12-month, you know, 5 days a week gallery open to the public. So we have a 12-month calendar, and we're very excited to provide access to contemporary art.
Is that what the primary function of the Slocumb Gallery is, to like exhibit contemporary art, or do you have a mission, a vision?
Well, you know, originally when it was developed, it is a venue to exhibit the BFA exhibitions.
Right.
As part of their graduation, they're required to have a
Yes.
show. We have an MFA program as well. So that's part of their academic requirement.
Right.
But we wanted to give the art, you know, promote it a little bit more and really maximize the educational potential
Right.
of art. And by having the gallery, when I came in, my priority was to strengthen the existing program. So I was trying to really improve how to schedule and improve the organization of the student shows,
Right.
but at the same time, put a visiting artist program in place. In the past, they've done that, but because of the funding and the time management, it's not really as regular as what we have now.
Right.
Now we have shows every 2 to 3 weeks.
With visiting artists.
With
so
visiting
these are people
artists,
who are not doing
yes.
art in Johnson City or
No.
on campus, and they're coming in from all
I
over the place.
started with some faculty shows.
Right.
My very first show was a faculty show and a few local exhibition, regional exhibition. Now we have brought in a few international shows. We do national juried calls for exhibitions. We have an open call for exhibit proposals from different parts of the world, actually, not just in the country, but we do open it to different
So
parts
somebody
of the country.
from across the planet could submit a proposal to the Slocumb Gallery and says, we want to do an exhibit about what? I don't know anything
Well,
about
you know,
art.
in fact, our first international show was in 2007. It's the Studio Art Consortium International, wherein ETSU is part of. So I did not organize that, but I did organize coming over, installing it. But the initial discussion was already in place before I got hired. We invited Dr. Stanton to be our guest of honor, and I think that's one of the rare few times he's in the art department.
Yes.
And it was very exciting. After that, I have brought the faculty show to Italy for an exhibition. And just last year, I brought their work and some of our graduate students to South Korea for an exhibition as well. In between, we've had show from Taiwan, from South Korea, from Mexico, and the Philippines.
That's outstanding. That's so cool. And I had occasion, I walked by Ball Hall, I would say like at least once every other week, and it doesn't occur to me to walk into the gallery.
Please come in.
I should, because it's right there. You know,
Yes.
it's in the entrance to the Ball Hall. Right, it's not with the auditorium, but the next entrance, and just there's just art just hanging out in there, and I don't know why I don't avail myself to that. And it's so easy to access, and it's free.
Yes, it's free to the public, and we have handicap access. You know, we even do extension hours if we have tours. Every now and then we'll get a call from different communities or different groups, and they said, we wanted to come, but we know you're closing at 4:30. And I'm like, well, as long as you give us enough time, we will make sure that it's available for you. And sometimes I even do like a tour for them and talk a little bit about the show. If we have, if it's a student show or if it's more like a local show, we even invite some of the artists to come over.
Oh.
Yeah, as long as they give us enough time and we can schedule, we try to accommodate it. We really try to promote contemporary art to be part of everyday life of people in Johnson City and the region.
Which, I mean, I don't think about art necessarily as being part of my own everyday existence. And so I think it's really, really important and really cool that you're thinking about how do we like make art accessible and available to people just on a normal, like art is part of life. Art is a reflection of your existence on the planet, at least so artists tell me.
Yes.
Right? So I think it's really neat that you're making that accessible. And this, recently there's been a lot of talk about Dr. Nolan talking about, you know, an arts initiative for the university, and I imagine that Slocumb is going to be sort of important in making that happen.
We're very excited. Yes, this Fine and Performance Art Building, I think this has been in the works for like the last 2 decades.
A billion years,
and
probably.
Finally, it's moving on, and we're really excited. I think there's, you know, I asked, aside from the fact that I wanted to provide access to contemporary art, one of the other mission and one of the goals that we're doing is also celebrating the art of this region. I may not be here, but I consider this as one of my homes.
Right.
And through the arts, we're actually showing off part of our culture, part of our soul, and showing it there's more to Appalachia.
Yes. And
Than some of those Hollywood
the
movies.
Stereotypes.
Stereotypes. And I think with the fine and performing arts, actually I always mention this to Mr. Martin when he gave that endowment.
Yes.
I told him, because there's a few people like him who gave us the importance other people are looking at the arts again and seeing it more important because somebody
legitimized the art that was being looked at and produced and curated on this campus.
And so there's just so many. We have a lot of award-winning faculty here and artists in the area.
The people doing art on this campus are fascinating. Like, I don't know I know that Anita DeAngelis binds books as like a form of art.
Yeah, she's a printmaker and a drawing faculty, and she also, that's one of the classes that she used to teach.
Right.
And you know, I think what's important is that for us to see art not as a separate discipline, but something that we live with.
Right.
And I mean, music is everywhere. Dance, storytelling. The ETSU is one of the very few institutions who has a master's in storytelling. And that's part of the art, that oral tradition.
Yes.
So it's not just the visual art. With the gallery, I have been really grateful because we have partnered with different units in the department and in the community. We have partnered with the Department of Communication, especially with the Division of Dance and Theater.
Yes.
There's an exhibition that we had a few years ago. One of my favorite, Tom Marioni. He is the father of conceptual art in the West Coast. And Scott, my husband, Dr. Contreras-Koterbay, he teaches contemporary art, and he would show slides of Tom Marioni conceptual art and performances and action drawings. And when I was looking for a juror in 2007, he was like, "Do you want to see Tom Marioni retrospective?" And I'm like, "Sure, I'm going to invite the curator in that museum. Let's go ahead and drive."
Right.
And we didn't think we can bring him over because he's such a big deal.
Big deal.
And he said yes. And I think that's one of the things that we do at the gallery. We're not afraid to ask.
Good.
We're very ambitious. We're really trying to expand the program. And we're just trying to invite people.
Right.
Because sometimes they just don't pay attention because it's not part of their everyday life. But once you invite them and they're like, "Oh, I can come here anytime."
Yes.
You know,
make yourself known is part of what to be successful, you just make your presence known on the planet.
And for us to be relevant, why are we here anyway? And we're serving the academic community, and we're also serving the local communities. Going back to Tom, he came here and we had some of the students from the Fine and Performing Arts and the Division of Theater and Dance collaborate with him, and they did the action drawings with him. And for us, for our students to be able to do that performance with such an internationally renowned artist, that's a lot of talking points.
That is a lot of talking points.
They were really excited. And aside from that, we had another artist who come a few years ago, and she's a sculptor. She's a feminist sculptor. She has this armor sculptures. And we had some of the students wear them while they're doing a dance and a monologue.
Do we have photos of that?
I think we do.
I think we do. We actually, if we can take a look at some of the photographs you have, we can kind of talk about some of the exhibits that Slocumb has demonstrated in the past. So if we could get that monitor, and so we can see some of the photos. So tell us about... So what do we have here?
This is the first faculty show in 2006 that I curated, and it is a celebration of what our faculty are doing. In the middle is a bronze sculpture by the current chair, Professor Catherine Murray. At the right side, those grid, it's really interesting because those are typography designed by our art historian, Dr. Paulwitz.
Oh!
And
I don't think
at the
art
back,
historians is doing art necessarily.
Yeah, those are a mixed media combination of graphic design and print technique by one of our graphic design faculty, Professor David Dixon. And on the right, it's a little bit cut off, but that's a mixed media by the former chair, Professor Wayne Dyer, who also organized the first Positive Negative show when he was a gallery director.
Back in, so how long has that show been going on now?
Like 1983 or something.
That's a long time for the same show to be going on. So, and well, we'll come to the Positive Negative exhibit here momentarily because that's what's currently going on. What else have we got? If we could see.
This is the Tom Marioni exhibition, and you will notice the student is trying to reach the paper. It's called action drawing. And what happened is that there's like 10 or 12 of them just running around the gallery, and every time they will reach that paper, they will jump holding a colored pencil. And as they do that, it makes a line on the paper.
And so the art is a product then of motion, human motion.
Yes. The title of that work is Flying with Friends.
Oh, I like
And
that.
of course, then the monitor is Mr. Tom Marioni.
And so this is our
was
students,
at the
our dance
yeah,
students.
those are our students, and some of them have gotten international education, and some of them have done really prestigious internship after. We're really proud of our
with
students.
their very humble beginnings here in Little Johnson City or whatever. That's so cool. Do we have other pictures we can take a look at? This is the armor that
Yes,
you were just
these are
referring
the
to?
sculptured armors, and there's a lot of that Wonder Woman cutouts, and she's trying to give more relevance and celebrate the feminist side of Wonder Woman, the more stronger
Strength.
the strength, yes. And in the
Most of her
center
paintings.
is Linda Stein, and then two of our Division of Theater and Dance students.
What are those armors made out of?
It's mixed media. It's like the paper. The actual drawings are made of paper, and then there's a support. It's fiberglass,
Oh,
and then there's a little bit of fiber to hold it together.
right.
But those are not just ordinary paper. She actually makes those and then prints them herself, and it changes some of the text. So it's not like she's just culling this
right.
from somewhere. She's actually changing some of the text that Wonder Woman would be saying.
So from like the ground up, all of her
Yeah.
materials, even she's had an influence in
Yeah, she's
creating.
appropriating some of these things.
That's, I mean, when we modify, what on earth am I looking at here?
That's a sculptural installation by sculptor Michael Orbach. He's a Nashville-based artist, but he was also the former president of the College Art Association, which is the biggest art organization in the country.
The College Art Organization.
Yes, the CAA, and this is the Secrecy series, wherein he was making. This was actually inspired by their administrative structure in the university.
Ah, that's not a compliment necessarily. It's
Well,
very-
it is a kind of a political comment
yeah.
with bureaucracy and education and.
Being caged into
Yes.
bureaucracy and caged in by bureaucracy.
Yeah, but you know, even if it's quite a political piece, it's a very striking art sculptural piece.
Visual.
Yeah,
like
it's a
the-
very visual, very powerful. Because I think there really has to have a balance between concept, the skill, and the final outlook. And I think sometimes we tend to go like to the extreme where it's all too conceptual and you forget about the skill, and then sometimes you're too focused about technique and media and you forget about what's the importance
Like
of
saying
that work.
something with the art.
Exactly, and I think having that balance is quite important.
And I imagine that that's what differentiates a great or brilliant artist from somebody who's just working with a medium and calling
Exactly.
themselves an artist.
Exactly.
I would assume. Anyway.
And you know, with the Slocumb galleries as well, I have my favorites, but our agenda is not to just present my Karlota's favorites, but really provide us diverse perspective and media.
Right.
Because it's an educational platform, so we're trying to present as different perspective from different artists, from different media, and I'm actually really proud because when we have our BFA and MFA show, some influence from some of this visiting artist exhibition
You can
shows
see
up
in the
yes,
students' art.
and we kind of learn from it, and they also it really enriches their academic experience, and they are exposed to different things that they would not normally
Right.
be
I mean, for as
familiar
talented
with.
and expert as our faculty are, they're small. They're just a small representation of people who are doing or teaching
Mm-hmm.
art. And so if we can bring in other perspectives and other skills and
Yes.
talents or whatever else, it's going to expand vastly a student's opportunity to get an education. And so
Exactly,
I think that's so
and
neat.
one of the faculty, it's funny because when we do exhibitions, we also try to bring in the speaker. We try to bring in the artist to do a lecture and
Yeah.
sometimes art critique. And one of the faculty said, sometimes we say the exact things that the visiting faculty or the visiting
And they
artist
don't
will
listen
say,
to it.
but the students will not listen to us. But when they hear the exact thing from the artist, they're like, as if it's the first time they heard it.
That's like when parents tell their kids anything. So parents can impart all the wisdom in the world, and their kids are like, "You're my mom. You don't know anything about this." They hear it from somebody else's mom. Like, "Oh, that's wisdom." But I imagine it's the same kind of thing.
It strengthens it.
Yeah.
It really does. And for them, to be able to see some of these successful artists.
Yes.
It's like, wow, we have a future in art. We can make it.
You can be
We
an
can be
artist.
great,
Yes.
and we can have a living. We can contribute to our society using our art. In 2010, when ETSU celebrated the centennial,
Yeah.
not a lot of people know this, but there were art classes in 1911.
Back before we were ETSU.
Before we were ETSU, it was a teachers' college,
Right.
and Miss Elizabeth Slocumb, where Slocumb was named after, she was teaching drawing classes, and it's
So this school has a history along from its very, very beginning, from its very inception.
So we
teaching
were
art.
there. So we were also celebrating the 100 years. And I thought this will be a great opportunity to see where our alumni are.
Right.
And, you know, I was really surprised. We had some alumni in museums, some working featured in National Geographic. Really, like they were making it. And some, you know, they don't always end up being practicing artists.
In the art, right.
But they're still doing something really interesting,
Yes.
and some
And
are
no
in
doubt
the
inspired
academia.
by an education in art or whatever else. I think we have a photograph of the reunion from.
Oh, yes.
I think so. So these are alumni from how many years of
I
art program?
I had people from the 60s, but most of the participants were in the 90s and 2000s, because in the process of inviting, I actually ask help from the faculty to nominate
Right.
who they want to represent their programs.
Yes.
And we have 9 very strong programs in the department. But at the same time, in the 1960s, the 50s, the 70s, the 80s, we have a strong art education program.
Right.
So some of them are teachers, some of them are high school.
I was going to say all those people, all those represent people, successful alumni from the art program,
Yes.
doing something or
Yes.
another on this, and that's. I think for your current students, I think that's probably a very encouraging.
Yes, and we tried to put like where they were, where they are now,
Yes.
on some of this, and for them just to come back, and some are like program directors on other universities. It was really exciting because sometimes we take it for granted, and just, oh, they've graduated, they don't have a relationship with us anymore, but they do. They continue to have that inspirational aspect, and of course our alumni office, they're very active, and our alumni also help with the fundraising, and
Yes.
hopefully with this arts initiative.
Yes.
We actually have a few alumni who are already committed and pledged help.
Oh.
Yeah, because we do have that $10 million that we have to raise to be able to build this facility.
Right.
And thankfully, Mr. Martin has given us $3 million already, and so $7 million to go.
Thank goodness for Mr. Martin.
But you know, I mean, we had Kenny Chesnick from ETSU. It's like we have produced a lot of good. Recently, one of our digital media alumni worked with the Life of Pi in the what do you call it? The creative team. So we have a lot of things to celebrate and people to celebrate. And I think with the gallery, it provides the visual platform. And with us also working a lot with interdepartmental, we get to kind of invite like people at the Office of Multicultural Affairs. They're our
Right.
partner with the Minority Rule exhibition now.
Let's talk about the positive negative exhibit that's going on at the Slocumb Gallery currently is titled Minority Rule.
Yes.
And what basically is the theme of the art in this particular exhibit?
You know, positive negative developed as an open call. Basically, the idea was to just bring in whatever else is going on around
Right.
in the country. But in the last 2 years, we've tried to put some theme. And this year's theme is Minority Rule, which was put forward by our current juror, Michael Ray Charles. He's an acclaimed artist. We're really excited that he was willing to do it. He's one of the artists featured at the Art 21
Yes.
by PBS. And actually the same time as Mel Chin. And this particular show, the works included in the exhibition, artists are talking about issues of migration, identity, racial inequality, gay marriage. There is a particular wall sculpture there made by one of our Tennessee artists based in Kingsport. It's entitled Made in China. And when you look at it, it's actually, it's a flag of America. Oh. And this is an assemblage of toys and items that are made in China, and she just put some,
arrange them in a
flag. Yeah. And it's interesting because it is. A lot of products are from China.
Indeed.
And then there's a sculpture of this stack of hamburgers. And that's an issue of health.
Yes.
So, there's all these social issues that not a lot of people talk about directly, but it shows in their art. And
yes.
there are, some of them use their art as agency and as commentary, social commentary, and I think that is important.
Well, you just use the interesting word agency, right? So it's, I think, one thing for art to make a commentary on a social situation, but does art have enough thrust behind it to actually bring about social change, or, to motivate people to do something different? I mean, have you seen art change people?
Well,
and culture and community.
It's deep within me because I grew up in a family where art is part of life. It's a Filipino indigenous tradition wherein ritual items are used in everyday life.
Yes.
And my father, he teaches in the community, and his recent project, we have a lot of typhoons in the Philippines,
yes.
and there was this town wiped out completely by flood. And they had no source of income, no
right.
source of living. And he was invited to teach. And he taught them how to do wood carving and how to see junk materials or wood that they would not even think. They'll think it's a firewood or,
yes.
Something that they should hate because it
there's
wiped out their...
There's no potential. There's
yeah.
no... Yeah.
He develops the eye to see a fish or a bird in
right.
it and teach them the skill how to do it. And now that community is thriving because they're having exhibitions in a regular basis, They're carvers and sculptors in the making. And that's a very concrete
yes.
Example. In downtown, we have an exhibition space called Tipton Gallery,
yes.
which we are so grateful to the Urban Redevelopment Alliance because since 2007, they have been sponsoring us there, hosting us. And I think it is important because they have the Blue Plum. And
yes.
that brings people together, the arts, not just the visual arts, but the performing arts.
Yep.
This region is so ripe and full of potential that the music is wonderful.
Yes.
So I think, when you invite people and have a reason to invite them and celebrate and have a party, people will come.
Yes.
And I think that's an important part of the revitalization of Johnson City.
I think so.
Those are concrete ones. Packaging. We don't talk about, I'm going to drink that product or eat that product because it looks good and it was packaged well. Those are graphic design.
Yes.
Those are applied art. So it's not just art in the gallery. But sometimes, you have artworks and you just look at them and it enables you to think about other things in life.
Yeah.
And see different potentials where you don't always think about because
right.
you're so...
It's expanding, it expands a view, it expands
yeah.
a perspective, and I think that's largely where change, agents of change come from, is being able to see things more broadly
yes.
than you had. How long is the Positive Negative exhibit going to be in the
It's a
Slocumb Gallery?
3-week show. It started last week, so it will be until March 8th.
So until March 8th.
Before the spring break. But importantly, we are having the juror, Mr. Michael Ray Charles. Professor Charles is coming over on March 4th, Monday, to give a presentation. Hosted by the Black Affairs Association and the Slocumb Gallery Student Society and the Office of Multicultural Affairs.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that exhibit. Thank you so much for joining us, Karlota. I have enjoyed very much speaking with you. So we have been speaking today with Karlota Contreras-Koterbay about her work at the Slocumb Galleries. Please join us next time on Spotlight ETSU.
Thank you, Carrie.
Sorry.